Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Do you hear me loud and clear? Good morning, everyone. Do you hear me loud and clear? Okay. So, we are 42 out of 47. So, our absent today are the following. So, these are the following people who are absent today: Bautista, Mendoza, Romel Vasquez, Vincent, and Yuan Andre. So they are not they are not going to take the quiz on Wednesday. Okay? Please note of that, Miss Brigino, the following students that I mentioned. So today, let's have a new lesson. Our new lesson for this midterm is research-based argumentative essay. So when you say research-based at the end, a research-based argumentative essay, first, let's have a learning outcomes. Can you read number one, anyone? Please raise your hand if you want to answer. Yes, Miss Mitra, can you read? Yes pa.
Learning outcomes. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to summarize a research-based argumentative essay from the explanation essay and the blog.
Thank you. Number two. Yes, Pagunsan. Number 2 and 3, please read.
I'm audible po.
Yes pa.
Number 2, appreciate the benefits of doing research. 3, demonstrate the ability to transform research into sound arguments.
And number 4. Yes, Miss Mendoza.
Write a research-based argumentative essay of at least 1,000 words on any topic of your choice.
Okay, so you must remember the following learning outcomes. Differentiate research base from explanation and the blog. 2. Benefits of doing research. Number 3. Demonstrate the ability to transform research into sound arguments. And do not forget, number 4, research-based argumentative essay is at least 1,000 words of any topic of your choice. Okay? So we will gonna do that on our face-to-face, face-to-face, or yeah, on-site class. Okay? So let's have what is research to argument, producing a research-based argument essay. So by this time, you had already written, you know already what's the explanation essay and blog, as we discussed that last time. So in our lesson today, you are expected to produce a research-based argumentative essay. Okay? So this is the example of the of the differences of explanation essay, blog, and research base. Okay? So pakibasa na lang po yan silently dahil kasama po yan sa ating exam. Do not forget that. So what is the table shown to you? Research is one element that distinguishes the argumentative essay from the explanation essay and the blog. The research-based argumentative essay is the end product of a research process that you must undertake. This process includes the following pre-writing. So we have a pre-writing of the research-based argumentative essay. So we say that the essay you are writing is argumentative is for the following. This means you are expected to present a clear stand on an issue that has at least two different or opposing sides. So, for example, a contentious issues including legalizing divorce and legalizing same-sex marriage in the Philippines. So, for these issues, one position favors the passing of a law allowing divorce or same-sex marriage. Another position rejects the passing of such laws. So there are two laws but different content. Okay? Another is you are going to decide on an issue you would like to work on. Then read about this issue. Check that the issue has two opposing viewpoints. If this issue interests you, pick this as your topic for the essay. For example, these are the research questions similar to the example given to you. Why should divorce be legalized in the Philippines? Why should same-sex marriage be legalized in the Philippines? Why should the practice of proper race segregation be instituted in my barangay or in your barangay? Why should ecotourism be promoted in my community or in your community? So these are after following after following research questions, plan the next steps for finding answers to your questions. This requires the preparation of annotated research bibliography, which is a list of sources with a brief description of the context of each source. So your source must be accepted. Okay? So here are the following example of our research base, okay? Or our research argumentative essay. So while we are doing that, after your research is approved, your research question has annotated already. And you will going to have your research-based argumentative essay be presented to everybody in the class or to the teacher itself. Okay? Like, for example of this. So here is the pattern. Okay, pattern or procedure or steps how you will gonna write an argumentative essay. Okay, please watch this video because from this video you will gonna have your quiz on Wednesday on the continuation of our lesson and our story about a mansion of many languages. Okay? Dito po sa video na to magsisimula ang essay yung source po ninyo is yung story pa rin po. Okay? Kaya kailangan po ng hard copy ng story. Okay? Lamang po ang ipapasa sa akin on Wednesday. Nagkakaintindihan po ba tayo? So you listen to the video as she tackled about the steps on writing an argument essay. Okay? Kasi hindi ko na po ito uulitin on Wednesday. Kaya po, intindihin, hindi ko naman po isi-send sa inyo itong video na to. If I were you, you jot down notes so that you may able to know the steps on how to write an argument essay. Please watch this.
Hello, class. As promised, today we're going to talk about writing an argumentative essay, more specifically, the steps for writing an argument. Now, I did mention this before, but I want to remind you that this PowerPoint was designed to write an argumentative essay as in like a 4 to 5 paragraph essay, but what you're going to be writing is an extended research essay in which you make an argument and you present research to support your argument, right? The research for your argumentative essay is going to be found by you using credible sources online, all right, or from books. So I just want to remind you, as you know, we mentioned where it talks about paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, etc. You're going to think in terms of sections. So section 1, section 2, section 3, and so on and so forth. So what is an argumentative essay? An argumentative essay is a genre of writing that requires one to investigate a topic, collect, generate, and evaluate evidence, and establish a position on a topic in a concise manner. Just like a basketball player sets a pick for his other player, his offensive person, you are going to take a stance. When you set a pick in basketball, you have to plant both feet and stand completely straight so that you're not called for a foul, right? In a research paper, you have to plant your feet on the argument that you're making and argue as if yours is correct. You are making this argument, this is what stands. Now with this comes other things such as counter arguments, which we'll discuss later on, but you need to be thorough. And you need to be strong in what you're saying. Don't guess, like, well, I'm kind of saying this. No, take a stance. Make a claim, run with it. The structure of an argumentative essay is held together by the thesis. Arguably, your thesis is your foundation. Thesis is a clear, concise, and defined thesis statement that occurs in the first paragraph of the essay. It's that one sentence that says exactly what you're going to argue. For example, my argument might be that Manor Hall is the best American school in a lane. If that's my thesis, then every single thing in the rest of my paper is going to connect back to that one sentence. If it doesn't, then your structure is weak. And you most likely have holes in your argument in that case. So remember, your thesis is one of the most important things. Now, again, I mentioned before, we're not going to think in terms of paragraphs, we're going to think in terms of sections. So section 1 sets the context for the essay by reviewing the topic in a general way. Think of an introduction. This is your introduction. In shorter papers, your introduction is about 1 paragraph, but in longer papers, it can be 2 paragraphs. Yours could very easily still be 1 paragraph. But for example, when I've written papers of, 10 pages, 12 pages, etc., sometimes you need 2 paragraphs to fully explain what you're discussing, and that's fine. This section also explains why the topic is important, or the exigence, why readers care about the issue, or why should they care about the issue. If I'm arguing that Manor Hall is the best American school in a lane, then I need to explain why should people care. Why should people care about your topic? If you're arguing something about the driving age, the legal driving age, maybe you're arguing that we should lower the legal driving age to 16, then I want to explain, why should you care about this? This is also where your thesis statement is presented. Your thesis statement typically comes near the last sentence, if not the last sentence of your first paragraph. It can come in the beginning of that paragraph, but it is very common to see it towards the end. But anywhere in that first paragraph is acceptable. Now, in between every single paragraph, not just between your first paragraph and your second paragraph, but between every single paragraph, you must have a transition. Transitions are the mortar that holds the foundation of the essay together. Think about a wall made of block. In America, we build the foundation of our homes using block. In between each block is a layer of cement. The cement is what holds it together. We use that cement because even though if we just stack the blocks on top of one another, they will probably hold position against at least some amount of force. Given enough force, they will fall. But if we use cement or concrete to hold them together, then they're even sturdier, and it takes even more force to tear them apart. The same with your essay. If you have transitions, it helps hold everything together. Instead of jumping from one thing to another and causing a big wiggle in your wall or in your argument, we have a sturdy, straightforward concept. Without logical progression of thought, the reader is unable to follow the essay's argument, and the structure will collapse. Now, I like to give this analogy, right? Think of when you go to the desert and you ride a four-wheeler or an ATV. We call them four-wheelers in America. Even a car with a manual gearbox. Okay, if you're driving the car and you're going too fast, when you go to shift, what happens? If you're driving too fast and you don't properly hit the clutch, or even if you do hit the clutch but you're going too fast, and you try to shift, or let's say we try to shift from second gear to first gear, you get a jolt that throws you forward. That's not a nice feeling for anybody in that moving vehicle, is it? Instead, people that drive manual cars need to, you hit the acceleration. When you want to shift, you let the acceleration go, you hit the clutch, you shift, and then you hit the accelerator again, right? That provides a very easy, smooth transition from one gear to the next. And nobody, in theory, feels this because it's a nice, smooth transition. The same in your essay. If you have a transition in between each and every paragraph, your reader can very smoothly go from your one point to the second point. But if you don't have these transitions, then you're jolting your reader from one place to the other. And sometimes your whole thought process gets lost because it's unclear how different items connect. Transitions should wrap up the idea from the previous section and introduce an idea that's to follow in the next section. So you're wrapping up one idea and you're easing them into another. Typically, people think of transitions as being one sentence. In fact, we use transition words to indicate that we're transitioning, right? And that's great for a topic sentence to use these transition words, but you also need to have some sort of baby transition at the end of the previous paragraph, because one sentence doesn't always do that for us, doesn't always get us that smooth transition we want, or that smooth shift from one topic to another. So you wrap up the idea at the end of one paragraph, and then you ease into the next. And this is something we'll work on as we begin writing our papers. Now, your body paragraphs. Notice it says body paragraphs. You can have 3 or 4 or 5 or even more body paragraphs depending on how many subtopics you have, or subclaims. So you have your main thesis, which is what we mentioned, which is this giant green umbrella, right? In an argumentative essay, it'll be a giant green umbrella is your thesis. Each of these yellow umbrellas will be your subclaims. And then everything that follows under that yellow umbrella, so the evidence that you're giving, the warrants that you're giving, connect to your subclaim, which then connects to your thesis. Everything is intertwined. We practice this regularly with our analyze the text questions, and we do that deliberately. You must have a claim, evidence, and warrant in each and every single paragraph. Sometimes you'll have 2 pieces of evidence and 2 warrants in a paragraph with 1 subclaim, and that's fine. Sometimes maybe you need to break your subclaim up into 2 different paragraphs. That's also fine, especially for the paper that you're writing. Each paragraph should be limited to the discussion of one general idea, aka one subclaim. Don't talk about 2 main subclaims in a paragraph. By sticking with one discussion of a general idea per paragraph, you allow for clarity and direction throughout the essay. You're not like we talk about the darts analogy. You're not just throwing a handful of darts at a dartboard and hoping something sticks. No, you're throwing precisely one at a time, and you're making sure it lands in the bullseye each time. Each body paragraph must have some logical connection to the thesis statement in the opening paragraph. If you find yourself writing about something in a body paragraph that doesn't connect to your thesis, or you have not made that connection clear, then you are not doing your paper effectively. You're not writing your paper effectively. That being said, it's really important to explain how and why the evidence supports the thesis, aka your warrant. Your warrant is everything. Your warrant is everything, or your warrants are everything. They really are a fundamental aspect of this. We've talked in the past about warrants being important because they explain your thought process, and that's important anytime, but it's especially important when you're doing a research paper, because maybe the reader will read the same sources that you chose and think of them differently than you did. So you have to justify your reasoning so that there's no room for doubt. Now, the last part of your paper is the conclusion. You must end your essay with a conclusion that does not simply restate the thesis, but readdresses it in light of the evidence provided. Don't introduce new information. We don't want new things thrown at us in the last paragraph, because you didn't argue those things all throughout, so why would you put them then? Instead, you synthesize the information presented in the body of the essay. Think of it like a recap. You know how when you watch a TV show and then the next week the new episode comes on and it'll recap everything that was in the previous episode, and then it starts the new episode? Your conclusion is the recap for your paper. Why do we put a recap with our paper? Well, you're reminding readers of the best part of like the highlights of your topic. But also think of this as like when you watch a football match and then later on there are the highlights of the game, right? You watch the highlights because you're reliving the best parts of the paper. The conclusion of your paper is the last part of the essay that your readers are going to digest. This is your last chance to impress them. So it's important that you synthesize or you refresh the reader of all the arguments that you made and why they should believe what you're saying. It's really easy to think of an argumentative essay in terms of a debate. Think like you're debating with a sibling or a classmate. When you're debating something, let's say with a sibling, and you go to your parents and you're like, I think I should have a curfew of 10 p.m. And your sibling goes, that's not fair. My curfew when I was their age was 9 p.m. They should have to come home at 9 p.m. You have to defend why you should be allowed to come home at 10 p.m. You cannot leave any stone unturned when making this debate. You have to make sure your argument's complete and logical. Don't leave any doubt as to your intent or as to what exactly you are petitioning for or arguing. In the example of the curfew, you want to list all the reasons why, all the best reasons why you should be allowed to have a curfew at 10 o'clock as where your older sibling had a curfew at 9 o'clock at your age. Cover all your bases, everything. Leave no stone unturned. As you conduct your research, you will find some really good points for your argument, and you'll find some ones that are okay, but they're significantly weaker. That's fine, but when you're doing your research, you need to gather everything. It's when you write your paper and when you start to organize your paper that you make the decision. You're choosing, I should use this over this because this is the stronger argument. That's when you choose the nitty-gritty of, I want the best. But in your research and in your full discussion, you want to be the most knowledgeable person in the room. Now, what you're going to do today is you're going to plan. Before you can start writing, you need to plan your essay. And you consider, how are you going to approach the research question? Well, you might be thinking, I don't have a research question. So we're going to establish one. Think about something that you are passionate about. For me, I'm passionate about government and people's right to vote. So I might do research to answer my research question of why vote? Why should people in the US vote? That's a question I want to know the answer to, so I'm going to conduct research on it. In my argumentative essay or in my research paper, I'm going to argue that people should vote regardless of how much effect their vote actually has. And then I'm going to defend this thing. So start by thinking, what is something you want to know the answer to? A debatable topic that may be something you already believe or something you're interested in, like should the legal driving age be lowered to 16? Should the legal driving age be raised to 21? Once you have a question in mind, then start conducting research around it and research both sides. Because when you write an essay, you have a counter argument, or you should address counter arguments like we studied in this unit. Spend the rest of today researching a topic. Research multiple topics. Find what is interesting to you. Make sure that you pick a topic or you settle on one or two topics that you are comfortable spending a significant amount of time working with. Choose something you're passionate about. You can ignore this second point because, as I said, this is designed for a different essay. But once you have chosen a topic, find possible sources. You don't have to set in stone any sources now. By the end of today, you only need to have 2 possible topics. You'll finalize this topic in the next week, but for now, choose 2 topics that you think you'll be comfortable working with. That's all that I have for notes. So go ahead and get started researching your topic, and you must post your 2 topics in Google Classroom by the end of class today. If you have any questions, please reach out to me via Google Classroom or email, and I will see you guys in the next class. Have a great day.
Good morning, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to quickly review the 6 parts of the argumentative research paper. If you recall, in our WIMA classes, we had talked in Comp 1 about the 5-paragraph essay, and we've also reviewed that for Comp 2. However, I have mentioned to you on several occasions that we need to add a 6th paragraph to our 2 research papers that we will complete this quarter. So I want to just review these parts with you. This is something that you can, watch at your leisure. So as you begin writing your paper, you will know in each section what you are responsible for including. The first paper or section of our 6-paragraph research paper, of course, is the introductory paragraph. And with this introductory paragraph, always we want to start that first sentence with some type of a hook, an attention grabber. It might be a quote, it might be an interesting story or an anecdote, a catchy phrase, but something that's going to grab the reader's eye, grab the reader's attention before you move on. Once that is completed, it is very important for a research paper to give background of the controversial topic. Remember, your audience is everyone here at PTI, which deals with your colleagues. It includes your instructors. It includes our staff and our administration here at PTI. So you are writing a formal research paper. And we all have different backgrounds, so one person may understand the topic or the issue that you are going to argue, but we all may not. So you want to give background of your topic, you want to ease the reader into the topic, and then of course you want to tell, why is this issue controversial? Because remember, we are not writing a report where you choose a topic and then research. You are writing a paper, an argumentative, persuasive paper, where your topic is going to be controversial and you are going to take a side. So you want to make sure in that intro that you include, why is this issue controversial? And why should I, as the reader, care about the different sides? And then obviously at the very last sentence of this introductory paragraph is your thesis statement. You want to make sure that the thesis statement is only one sentence, and it includes your topic, the side or the stance that you are taking, the claim that you are making about that topic, and then the 3 supporting arguments that you are going to use in your research paper to get the reader to take your side. And all of this will be placed in one sentence. So it's very important that you make sure you set it up in this manner. Once that is completed, we are going to start with our first body paragraph. And body paragraph 1 should begin with a topic sentence. Remember, the topic sentence, we are going to take that information from argument 1. Whatever your first argument was, you are going to place that into a sentence so that your first sentence that I read in body paragraph 1 lets me know what argument you are going to discuss. Also, you want to make sure that you do not start that first sentence of your body paragraph with a direct quote. You can use the direct quote later. You can even use the direct quote as your second sentence, but the first sentence has to go back to the first argument that you listed in your thesis statement. Once that is completed, then everything in that paragraph is going to deal with that argument, and there will be supporting details. You will take these from facts, statistics, expert testimony, personal opinion, examples, stories. Perhaps if a study was done in the topic that you are reporting or arguing, you might include that. But you need to give support for the claim that you're making. It is not enough just to say, this is my claim. People want to see support. And of course, you want to use credible support, credible sources to give this support. You're going to cite this material to your sources. It is certainly okay to give personal opinion, personal stories, but you cannot use that alone. You must also use your sources. You should use at least one source in each of your 3 body paragraphs. Certainly more would be better, but you must cite at least one source in each body paragraph. And then the third item you want to include in your body paragraph 1 is a transition sentence to make us we're leaving argument 1 and smoothly moving into argument 2. We move to body paragraph 2. Same idea. The topic sentence that you will write, you will take from argument 2 that you listed in your thesis statement. And again, it's going to state what the second argument is about in a complete sentence. From there, you are going to move to your supporting details. Again, facts, statistics, expert testimony. Personal opinion, you may add, yes. Examples, stories. But again, you must use at least one source in body paragraph 2, preferably more than one source. Remember that people want evidence. They want proof that your opinion and that your reasons are sound and that they are based on truth. And then next, the last sentence, you're going to make your transition into, and we talked about placing your rebuttal right after your second argument. Let's take a look at that rebuttal paragraph. Remember, as we discussed in our WIMBA session, the rebuttal paragraph, it does 2 things. First of all, it makes a concession statement, and that's where you're going to use one of the phrases on page 261 in your textbook. These phrases will help you to concede your point graciously. The concessions are going to strengthen your overall argument by making it seem more credible. Once you've made that concession statement, now you're going to develop your rebuttal. You're going to make a tactful argument aimed at the weak spot in the opposing argument. Again, we're not shoving our viewpoints down our reader's throat. This rebuttal paragraph lets them know, yes, I see your point. And now you want to develop your rebuttal and tell them tactfully why their point is weak. You want to make sure that the reader sees the big picture. And then once you've completed that, we are going to consolidate the claim. Go back to your claim. Make it stronger. Perhaps use a source or facts in this last part of the rebuttal paragraph to prove your argument. In other words, you're going to regroup. Let me get back to my argument again. Let me add some facts to it. Let me make it stronger so that you see I have made a concession. I've said that I see your side. I am telling you where I think your side is a little weak. And now I'm going to consolidate my claim. I'm going to regroup and make my argument even stronger. Once I've completed my rebuttal paragraph, I'm going to go into body paragraph 3. This is my third chance to produce an argument for you and make my claim even stronger. Again, I'm going to use my topic sentence. It's a sentence that states what my third argument is. It states second argument here. I want to state what my third argument is. Take it from argument 3 in your thesis statement. Again, these numbers are wrong right here. I apologize for that. Once you have made the topic sentence that you took from argument 3 in your thesis statement, again, you're going to give supporting details. You must use at least one source that you cite to, preferably more. Give some facts, statistics. Again, mix it up. You don't want to just use examples and personal opinion. Use some hard evidence also. And again, you need proof that your opinion and reasons are sound and based on truth. From there, we're going to move into our conclusion. In our concluding paragraph, we want to restate the thesis. And when you restate that thesis, use it or rephrase it differently from the way you phrased it in your thesis statement. Summarize your main points. This is your last chance to make an impression. So you want to hit hard on those main claims that you made, the main support that you gave. And then at the end, you want to give a call to action. Make a plea. Tell the reader exactly what you want them to do. Do you want them to protest? Do you want them to sign a petition? Do you want them to no longer support a certain business, a certain person, a certain candidate? Let them know what action you would like to see them take. And really, these are the 6 paragraphs of your argumentative research paper. So I hope that, as you're writing your paper and you need a little bit of reinforcement, take a look at this, and this should help you to organize all the points that you plan to do.
Okay, so as you watch the video, it tells us that we have three steps in doing the argument essay. What are those? Number one is thesis statement. So what is thesis statement? It expresses it expresses your stand on the issue you choose to do research on. So you are formulating a statement. Like for example, this one. Despite the growing number of broken families in the country, divorce should not be legalized in the Philippines. So what are the characteristics of the thesis statement above? So ito yung topic mo. So gagawa ka ng thesis statement through an argument. Okay? And this is the outline of the essay. Outline and then the essay. Okay? The outline. After having done research about your topic, choose one side that you agree with. This side is your argument on your position. Then, list all the factual support for your argument. Do the same for the other side, which is the opposing position. List all factual support you have gathered for that position. And your outline must be complete. It must contain all the maintained points of your research argument paper. This means that your outline should have the following parts: state thesis statement, argument, specific support of this argument, opposing argument, specific support, and list of sources. Okay, so that is our lesson for today. Okay, thank you very much and see you on Wednesday. Good morning, everybody.